Can't hear you, Armando?
I think I was muted and I was talking. Thank you, Joellen, so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you. Bienvenidos. I'm Armando Galvan Cruces, Student Life Coordinator here at HCC, and I'm extremely excited of being here with you for the coffee talk that we're going to have today. I'm going to be moderating the session, and as we navigate from this new remote environment that is transforming how we interact with students, I would like to thank you all for being on this session. Today, you will be answering we'll be answering your questions about our financial aid process. Also, this is a discussion session, and only general questions will be responded. We have a great presenter, and I'll be introducing her shortly. Also, you'll be interacting with our amazing ACC staff through our Q&A box that is located on your right-hand side of your screen. So we'll be answering those questions after the presentation. And just a last reminder, your microphones will be muted for the presentation, just for sake of having order on it. So now let me introduce you, Ms. here, our Executive Director for Financial Aid. I had the honor of working under her leadership for a couple of years, and she is a subject expert in financial aid realm, but also someone that deeply cares about our students. So without any more preamble, I'd like to welcome Ms. Joellen Soucier. Joellen?
Thank you so much, Armando. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
All right, excellent. Not sure, how to turn on my camera at this point, so I'm just going to continue. So I'm going to go, before I get started to talk about the agenda and the topics I'm going to go over today, I want to take a minute for all of the students that are on this meeting. I want to thank you so much for your patience during this very difficult time. I know it hasn't been easy. We have had some challenging times. I know students want to attend, and financial aid is an important piece of enabling you to attend HCC and take classes for the fall. We have had an overwhelming volume of students trying to reach us in the last couple of weeks, and we have done our absolute best to try to get to each and every one of you. So if we haven't been able to get to you, first of all, I want to apologize, because the first thing we want to do is help you. And secondly, let you know that we are working through some of the challenges that we are having in this environment while you try to reach our experts and get your questions answered and your issues resolved. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can do that and some of the online resources that are available to you. So I'm going to talk today in the next 20 to 30 minutes about the financial aid services that we offer. I'm going to give you a brief overview of FAFSA and financial aid eligibility requirements, because it affects every student that applies for financial aid. I'm going to talk about the specific program requirements, because I don't think a lot of students realize that depending on the program, depends on the eligibility requirements and the criteria in order to receive funding from those programs. I'm also going to talk to you, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but we can't see your presentation. I don't know if you can reshare your presentation, because we can only see a black screen.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
Before we go any further, that's...
Okay, so let me try that again, because it shows that it's being shared on my side. So let me try that again.
There you go. Now we can see it.
See it now? All right.
Yeah,
Thank you, Armando. Appreciate that. So keep me on task.
I will.
Armando, I appreciate it. Thanks. So again, as I was saying, I'm going to talk very briefly about what it means to be eligible for financial aid. And then I'm going to talk to you about some really important topics to retain your financial aid, because financial aid is evaluated at the end of every semester. And when you withdraw or you pass a class with a grade lower than a C, it affects your financial aid eligibility. And I'm also going to talk to you about a new process that we have implemented recently in our book advance process in terms of getting funding to help cover books and supplies. So these are the main topics that I'm going to talk about today, but I'm sure that there'll be plenty of questions at the end that you can ask me. And again, I'm going to reiterate, we will not be able to answer any student-specific questions about your record because this is a group setting, and we have to abide by the Federal Privacy Act rules, and we cannot share your information in a group setting. So we will answer all your general questions, and then we will guide you on how to get your specific questions answered. So that's what we're going to do today. So basically, and you're going to get a copy of this presentation, by the way. These are the type of services we offer in the financial aid office. Our biggest service to students is helping them through the process. And it's really important for you to understand that financial aid is a process. It's not just a simple application. The application is the starting point of the process. And then there are a number of steps that need to be done in order for us to deliver aid to you at the end of the process. So I'm going to talk a lot about what it means to get through the process. And I think what a lot of students don't understand is that process, in some cases, takes time. It can't be done in a day's time. Unfortunately, we wish it could. We wish we could deliver financial aid overnight, but we can't. It has to go through the process. And it starts with the application. For students who are U.S. citizens or eligible non-citizens, that application starts with the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. For undocumented students, that application is the TASFA, the state application. That application must be completed every year. Okay, this is really, really important. And I'm going to show you how the FAFSA application works and what periods it covers, because I think a lot of students get confused, especially when summer arrives and they're not sure which application covers the summer term. And then we also have additional applications, such as applications for our foundation scholarships, applications for our emergency aid when a student runs into financial difficulties halfway through the semester, and then other applications which tend to be program specific, like those who want to be a teacher and the Teach Grant application, for example. So we help guide students through the application process. And then we guide them if there are additional forms and documentation that are required by federal or state regulations. When I talk about the process is guided by rules and regulations that were set forth by our U.S. Congress and by our state legislators. So most of the rules and regulations that we follow are not our rules and regulations. They're rules and regulations that are given to us by federal and state agencies. We also award students with aid based on those federal and state guidelines. And then we have to provide information to you on eligibility criteria, because eligibility changes from student to student and eligibility changes by program by program. We also assist students with work-study jobs and both on and off campus, and we're ramping up for the fall right now. So work-study jobs are getting posted every day out on our website, and students can start applying for those on and off campus jobs. Right now, the on-campus jobs are primarily virtual jobs where you would be working from home. And then the off-campus jobs depends on the off-campus agency. So we're going to start placing students in jobs in the next week or two. So keep an eye on email addresses. If you have work study that's been awarded to you and you have not accepted that award, you won't get any communications about work study until you accept that work study offer. Once you accept the offer, then we're going to start emailing you information about how to apply and obtain those jobs. Also, we've been helping students with emergency aid funding. Emergency aid funding, a lot of students access something called the CARES Act for the spring and summer terms. There will be emergency aid funding available for the fall semester, but at a much lower level than in spring and summer, which means that our emergency aid funding for fall is the amount we have to give out is much smaller. So we're finalizing all of our plans for the emergency aid right now. We hope to have those plans finalized by next Friday, and then we will be posting on our website the information about accessing emergency aid funding. And then we also have a team of people called financial coaches that help students access community resources for things such as living expenses, rent and food and things like that. They're available to help with those. We also help students if they need to use student loan funding to help cover their educational expenses. So we help them through the application process and repayment options. So if you borrow from student loans, at some point you are going to have to pay those loans back. So we will help you with those different payment options, and there are a number of repayment options available. Now, if you have student loans right now, the federal government, because of COVID-19, they have suspended all interest accrual and all required payments until December 31st, 2020. So you haven't been charged any interest on your student loans beginning March 13th of 2020 through December of 2020. So for those students who have unsubsidized Stafford loans, those loans are not growing while you're in school right now like they have in the past. They actually are staying at the same amount because interest is not accruing due to COVID-19. And then the last thing that we help with our services is financial education and literacy training. Our financial coaches are available to help coach students with creating personal budgets, for helping save money for the long haul, to understand credit and your credit score, things like that. So that's really, really important for you as you progress through your education and then beyond. So how are we helping students right now? Because unfortunately, we're not in the office and you can't come see us. We want to be in the office more than you want us to be, trust me. We are all tired of being at home, and we are tired of many of us being alone and not seeing people on a daily basis. So we wish we were back in the office, but unfortunately, we will not go back to the office until it is safe to do so. And we will let you know when that is. So in the meantime, we have to help you electronically. We have to help you on the phone. We have to help you via email. So I want to let you know how you can reach us. So we do have a financial aid COVID-19 question and answer website on the financial aid website. When you go to the main page and you scroll to the bottom, there's a link that you can click on that says COVID-19 Q&A webpage. And it lists all the multiple ways you can reach financial aid during this work from home time. It also tells you how you can submit documents, how you can access emergency aid resources. The emergency aid resources page has not been updated yet for the fall semester, but it will be in the next week or two. And then we have also some general financial aid updates to give you. For the month of September, with the exception of Saturday the 5th and Monday the 7th, we will be closed for the holiday weekend. But for the month of September, our hours of operation are Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to 1, except we will not be open this Saturday. None of the student services offices are going to be open because of the holiday. And then if you look at our contact page, which I've given you the URL link to that page, and when you get a copy of this presentation, you'll be able to click on that. You can reach us by calling us. But those of you who have tried to call us, you probably know that there's been a long wait time. The average wait time to reach financial aid right now has been about 45 minutes. And that's primarily Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. If you try to reach us first thing in the morning, you won't have a 45-minute wait. If you try to reach us between 5 to 8 p.m., you're going to have a much better chance reaching us. And Saturday, we have not been busy. So you can definitely have a better chance of reaching us on Saturday by calling the phone number you see on the screen. But the rest of the time, it's been very busy. We've had, on average, between 30 and 40 students in the queue waiting to reach one of our 15 call center reps. And they have been busy taking call after call. You can book a virtual advising appointment online. by going to this page, this contact page. That's been very successful, but we're booking pretty fast. Right now, we're booked for the rest of this week, but we are accepting appointments again starting next Tuesday. You can email us. We are about a week behind in emails, though. When I looked at last night's report, we still had about 1,200 students in the queue for us to get back to them on their email, but we are trying to respond as quickly as we can. So I want to thank you for your patience. Now, we do have this thing called the Financial Aid Resolution Center. So if you go to our webpage, you will see there's a link to our Resolution Center. That Resolution Center is primarily used for students who have issues that they need to resolve. Or if you are not happy with one of our services, please use the Resolution Center to let us know of your issue or the problem you're having or the frustration you're having. I can tell you right now, those are being responded by within 24 hours. So if you submit something to the Resolution Center, there's someone responding to that within 24 hours. And we have a team of 6 people that are responding to those Resolution Center submissions. And the last thing is, we don't have it yet, but we're working on it. We are going to have our own Zoom lobby. Financial aid is going to have their own Zoom lobby in which there will be up to 8 people available to take in what we'd call virtual walk-in traffic. So we're working on that right now, and we're hoping to roll that out next week at some point, and we will let you know when that's all available. So those are the ways in which you can reach us. Now, we are in September, and so you have just started the new year, the 2021 financial aid year or academic year for your classes. So I'm sure you are not thinking about next fall. However, the financial aid process, like I said, that is a process, and that process takes time. The sooner you start the process, the better off you'll be for the next year. So starting on October 1st, which is just a few weeks away, you will be able to apply for the 21-22 school year. Okay, so I really would advise you, the sooner you can apply, the better. So the school year that, for example, 2021, the online application was available last October and will close next June. The financial aid application for a given year is open for a very long time. And it will cover a period of fall through summer. So for those of you who have completed the process for 2021, your application is going to cover fall, spring, and next summer. So you're good to go, but you need to start thinking already about fall of 2021 and getting the process started so that it's finished long before you think about enrolling in classes next April. Students who apply beginning the summer after high school, they need to complete 2 applications at once if they want to enroll for the summer term. Our summer's a trailer, so it comes at the end of the year. Now, the financial aid form asks you for tax information that's a couple years old. So when you did the 2021 FAFSA, it asked you for 2018 tax information. And I don't know about all of you, but many of us have seen a significant change in income due to COVID-19 and due to the environment we're currently in. So if you have changes to your income that's different from 2018, let's say your income is lower now, you can make a change by asking for a special circumstance. Our special circumstance form is out on our forms website. And if you do the FAFSA application, it's going to go through a number of eligibility checks. Every student's eligibility checks may be different. So when one student might not be flagged for any checks and doesn't need to complete any additional documents or applications, another student may be flagged for a number of eligibility checks in which we are required to collect additional information before we can complete your process of getting awarded financial aid. Students need to comply with a number of eligibility requirements. This is why we are required to ask for additional documentation from you. I know some students don't understand why we ask for more information from you. It's not because we want to, it's because we have no choice. We need to collect additional documentation because the federal government flagged your application and informed us that something needs to be questioned or re-verified before we can process your aid. The other thing that is extremely important in terms of qualifying for financial aid is that you need to be a regular student. So what does a regular student mean? A regular student means you need to be enrolled in an eligible program. Not all HCC programs are eligible programs. Some of our programs are very short-term programs that don't qualify for federal financial aid. Our very short-term programs, like our continuing education programs, our CEU programs, those programs are considered too short for the federal government to approve the program for financial aid eligibility. So we can only deliver financial aid to students who are a matriculated student here at HCC, which means they intend to finish their degree program or certificate program with HCC, and they're in an eligible program, and they're only taking classes that apply to that program. And we need to check all that information before we can deliver aid to a student. So an associate's degree is always an eligible program. That is a program that is considered having blanket approval. So if you're enrolled in an associate degree program at HCC, you are going to qualify for financial aid. Our certificate programs, some of them are approved and some of them are not. So our program, for example, our accounting certificate is 36 credit hours in 48 weeks. So that program is long enough to be approved. But our RN to paramedic program is only 9 credits long and it's only 16 weeks long. And that program is too short to qualify for financial aid. So some students, when they sign up for financial aid, if they're in a program that's not eligible, they'll get a notification that they're not eligible for aid. And that's probably because they're in a short-term program. And they either need to enroll in a program that is eligible, or they may have to take advantage of another way to pay, such as our payment program, our self-pay payment program. So when a student enrolls in classes, we have to put them through a course validation process, which means that if a student appears to be taking a class that doesn't apply to their current active degree program that we have on our records, they may end up getting something called a course alert. A course alert means that we may not be able to validate the course because it doesn't show that is approved for the program that the student is enrolled in. So some students may say to us, yeah, but I'm going to take that program and transfer it to a program that I plan on going to at the University of Houston. Well, unfortunately, if it doesn't apply to our program here at HCC, the program that you are approved for, we cannot process financial aid for that course. We can't include that course and the student's eligibility for financial aid. So it's very important that you stay in touch with your academic advisor and that you know that every course that you're enrolling in is going to apply to the active program you have in our system. Each program has its own eligibility requirements, and this can be so confusing to students. So I understand when students get frustrated or they just don't understand why, for example, they're getting the Pell Grant, but they're not getting a student loan. Well, it could be because the student is in 2 classes, but they're only enrolled in 5 credits for those 2 classes. And a student loan program requires a student to be attending 6 or more credits that apply to their program. With a Pell Grant, a student can be taken as low as 1 credit that's being applied to their program and possibly be eligible for the Pell. But there are additional eligibility requirements for Pell other than just the number of credits you're enrolled in. So this just gives you an idea of some of the eligibility requirements per program. And when you contact us, we will do our best to talk about why or why not you're eligible for certain programs. There are 2 programs, or actually 3 programs listed on this screen, in which financial aid only has limited funding for those programs. So the SEOG grant, for example, the work study program, and the Texas grant programs, we're only given a certain amount of money to give out for the year. And once that money's been distributed to students and is gone, we can't give it out to any more students. So it really is somewhat of a first come, first serve system when it comes to those programs. Where the Pell Grant, if you're eligible, you're eligible. There's no set amount that they give us. They only give it to the students who qualify. And the same with student loans. So in order for you to earn your financial aid for the semester, you have to stay enrolled and complete your class. If you stop attending or you withdraw from a course in the middle, and I don't just mean a course, I mean all of your courses for the semester. So if you're taking 4 courses and you withdraw from one of the courses, it will not affect your eligibility in terms of earning the money for that semester. But if you withdraw from all of your classes for the semester, you may not have earned all your aid. And if you stop attending prior to the 60% of the semester, we're going to have to do something called a return of Title IV calculation. We have to recalculate your eligibility for that semester. And if it turns out that you did not earn all your aid, we have to return some of your money back to the federal government. And when we do that, what's going to happen is going to create a balance due on your account because you have to pay back that money that you didn't earn in financial aid. So I've got an example here. So let's say you are enrolled in a 16-week semester that starts on January 1st and ends on April 30th. And the total days of that semester is 121 days, minus the 7 days for the spring break. So there are 114 days in that semester. And let's say the student withdraws on March 1st. The student attended 60 days of the 114 days, which is only 52% of the semester. So we will have to recalculate the student's eligibility in this example and return a portion of that aid, which will cause the student to owe a balance. And they can't register for future classes until that balance has been paid. Now, we have been given some consideration as a result of COVID-19. So some students may qualify for something called R2T4 Relief. So let's say you started off the fall semester strong, everything's good, and unfortunately you contract COVID-19 or one of your family members contracts COVID-19 that requires you to have to stay and take care of that person, and you can't complete the semester. This is just an example. So if that's the case, and you have to withdraw before the 60% point of the semester, you need to let us know, and we have a form for this, that you had to withdraw because of one of these 6 allowable circumstances. So if you had to withdraw because of one of these 6 allowable circumstances, we will not have to return the money that results from that R2T4 calculation. And that's only for spring, summer, and this fall. We don't know if this will be a condition come spring. Right now, the federal government has only given us this relief process for this semester, but at this point, it doesn't look like it's going to be valid for the spring semester. So for the spring semester, if you withdraw before the 60% point of the semester, we may have to return some of your money, causing you to owe a balance. So be very cautious if you withdraw from classes in the middle of the semester. Now, there's another requirement for you to retain your financial aid eligibility, and that's called satisfactory academic progress. So at the end of every semester, fall, spring, and summer, we have to look at your total record at HCC, and that includes any classes that you took that you paid for out of pocket, even those classes in which you did not get financial aid. So any classes that you take are going to be counted towards your satisfactory academic progress. And we have to measure you in 3 different ways: qualitative, quantitative, and maximum time frame. So what does that mean? Well, qualitative means you have to have a 2.0 or higher to keep your financial aid from semester to semester. Quantitative means that you have to pass the classes that you attempt. In any class that you do not pass, which means that you withdrew from the class, you got an F in the class, or you got an incomplete or no pass type grade, all of those grades are considered not passing the attempted class or not successfully completing the class. So that affects your eligibility for financial aid. And then there's the last thing called maximum time frame. And what that is you have to ensure that you finish your program within 150% of the published length of the program. So what does that mean? So for example, if you are in a 60 credit associate's degree program, 150% is 90 credits, which means that you need to complete your program within 90 credits. If you don't, then you will hit maximum time frame and you will lose your financial aid eligibility. And I give you an example here, like the accounting certificate, that's 36 credits. So 150% of that is 54 credits. You need to get that program completed within 54 credits taken at HCC, or you risk your financial aid being halted. And I say halted because there are options for you when you lose your financial aid eligibility due to SAP. And it does happen to students along the way. So here is an example of all of the things we need to look at in order for you to maintain your financial aid from one semester to the next. This is really important. Now, if for some reason you don't meet one of those requirements, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to get a warning semester before losing your eligibility. We will send you a warning saying you are at risk of losing your eligibility because at this moment you're not meeting SAP. So you get one extra semester. After that semester, if you're still not meeting SAP, then you're going to go on what we call financial aid suspension. Okay, you will actually lose your financial aid eligibility. Students who lose their eligibility have the option to do an appeal. Okay, they can do a satisfactory academic appeal. But that appeal must be based on extenuating circumstances, and this is written into the law. Okay, so the law says in order for us to accept an appeal from a student, it has to be based on extenuating circumstances, and you have to provide documentation to support those circumstances. So here's a list of 7 examples of what is considered acceptable extenuating circumstances. Okay, natural disaster, job-related disruption, learning disability without available assistance, loss of transportation, not a factor at this moment, family emergency, so on and so forth. COVID-19 is an acceptable extenuating circumstances for a SAP appeal. Hurricane Harvey was an example of an extenuating circumstance. Acceptable documentation must also follow that extenuating circumstances. And that documentation can include anything from medical documentation to third-party letters from folks that know about your circumstances and can basically support or corroborate the fact that you were affected by one of these extenuating circumstances. The last thing I want to talk about is something that's fairly new that we implemented over the summer, and that is something called a book advance process. So students who have financial aid that exceeds their billed costs. So what happens is when you register for a class, you are charged for those classes, okay? But unfortunately, higher education is not free, so there will be a cost associated with that. So you will be charged for the classes. If you've applied for financial aid and have been awarded financial aid, we will look at your total award eligibility. Now that award is based on the grants and scholarships that show up on your award in our system and any loans that you have accepted and done the proper loan requirements to receive the loan. Okay, so those are the type of things that we're going to consider. If you've been awarded work study is not included in this. Okay, it's not anticipated aid that goes towards the bill. Work study is availability for you to go get a job on or off campus and be paid for that job. And your payments to work that job are actually coming from the federal government or the state. If your financial aid, your what we call anticipated aid, means your grants, scholarships, and loans that you have completed the process for. We will look and see if that amount exceeds your billed cost for the semester, then you will have money available from your financial aid to help with books and supplies. You have two options for doing that. The first one is we have a 2-week window that allows you to request a book advance, where you can get that funding in advance of the semester starting through a refund process, which I'll talk about in a minute. And that refund process will give you funding so that you can go get your books and supplies outside of our HCC store. Okay, but it's only a 2-week window. And so to qualify for that 2-week window, you have, number one, you have to be enrolled in classes, okay, prior to the opt-out period. So the opt-out period for fall has already passed. So for spring, the opt-out period is going to be December 1st through December 15th. And it's going to be the same 2-week period every semester, every year, okay? So December 1st through the 15th, if you have enrolled in your classes prior to December 1st, and your financial aid is in order, and your financial aid exceeds your billed costs, then you will get an email that says you qualify to opt out of using your financial aid at the HCC bookstore, and then you will get an advancement of your funds to go get your books and supplies somewhere else, okay? During the process of the book advance, you will get 5 different communications. One saying you qualify for it. If you choose to opt out, you have to go into your self-service under financial aid and opt out of using HCC bookstore and getting an advance instead. If you opt out, you'll get an email that will say that you're going to get a book advance payment as long as you haven't changed your schedule or as long as your financial aid hasn't changed, because every time you make a change to your schedule, it has an effect on financial aid. This is super important. Every time you make a change to your schedule, your financial aid. We do financial aid adjustments every evening automatically. If you get an email saying you're getting a book advance payment, then you're going to get one saying that you qualify at the end of the opt-out period. So for spring, that'll be on December 15th. And then you'll get an email saying when you're going to get that through the refund process. So when I say the refund process, if you choose the book advance process for the semester, because you have to do this every semester. This is not, you do it one time and you're good for the life of your HCC. You will have to qualify every semester, and you'll have to do the opt-out process every semester. And then if you choose the opt-out process, you cannot use your financial aid at the HCC bookstore. Okay, it's either one or the other. You can't get both. Okay, so if you get a book advance and then later on register for a later class, like a second or the last 8-week session, you will have to take care of your books yourself. Because you won't be able to get use a book voucher in the bookstore. If you choose not to get the book advance, you can still use any excess financial aid in the bookstore, okay? If you don't qualify because you don't register until after December 15th, or your financial aid is not in order until after December 15th, you'll still be able to use your financial aid in our HCC bookstore. This is the book advance screen, by the way. Like I said, you're going to get a copy of this presentation so you can see, if you qualify, how you opt out in the bookstore. And if you don't qualify, you'll still be able to use your financial aid at our HCC bookstore if your financial aid's in order and if your financial aid exceeds your billed costs. And you'll get an email to that effect. So if you don't use the opt-out process or you don't qualify to use the early opt-out process, then what's going to happen is you will get an email closer to the start of the semester saying that you have enough money to use your financial aid in the bookstore. Now, I caution you to use that wisely because if you have financial aid that exceeds your billed costs, at some point, you're going to receive that money as a refund. You'll receive that excess money as a refund. So anything that, what I should say, I'm going to use an example, okay? If you have $2,000 of financial aid and you have $1,000 of billed costs, that means you have $1,000 of excess financial aid. And let's say you only need 2 books for $150. So you can go to the bookstore and buy those 2 books for $150 and maybe get a few supplies. Maybe you spend $50 on notebooks, pens, other things. So let's say you use $200 in the bookstore. That remaining $800 is a refund that you're going to receive after we have verified your attendance in all your classes. Okay? So you will get your financial aid dispersed to your account, because even through all these different processes I've just explained, you don't get your aid dispersed as a payment to your account until we can verify your enrollment for all your classes you're enrolled for the semester. So if you have later start sessions, then we won't be able to disperse a lot of your aid until you have started that later session. And once all your aid's been dispersed, any excess money that you're eligible for after all your charges and books have been paid for, you will get that in a refund. And the refund process is online. You can see that information on our website through our student accounts office. So the refund process is not actually a process that's done by financial aid. It's actually done by the billing office, the student accounts office. And they do that process once a week on Thursdays. Okay, so we try to make sure we do disbursements every week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. So when the student accounts office does their refunding on Thursdays, if you qualify for excess financial aid, you'll get that refund by Friday. Okay, so again, everything with financial aid is a process, and it has to go through the process before you can access the funding that you qualify for once we're done all of your application, verification, documentation, and so forth. So at this point, please let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, you are going to get a copy of this presentation that you can use as a resource. Please, any specific questions related to your record or your account or your financial aid awards, those can't be answered at this time. Those you will have to go through one of our methods to reach us electronically by phone or by email. Thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate you as a student. I know how important education is. If it wasn't for financial aid, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have my education. So I know how important it is. So thank you. And thank you, Armando and Dominique, for pulling this together and giving me the opportunity to speak to everyone today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Joellen Saucier. And just to reiterate what Ms. Joellen just shared with us, financial aid, it's a process that has multiple steps and even multiple departments that intervene to make this possible. Also, the financial aid department has other services that you can access, from emergency assistance to financial services, to understanding payment options. We completely understand that it's a lot of information to unpack, and that's why it's extremely important that we convey this information to you guys. So without let's start with those questions. We had a lot of questions from loans, refunds, scholarships, the bookstore, work studies. So I'm trying to accommodate them based on topic. So we're going to start with loans, refunds, scholarship questions. So the first question we have for Ms. Joellen will be, how do students know if they are eligible for loans this semester?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up, Armando.
I think,
I only caught a part of that.
yeah, I think we're creating echo. Can you mute for a minute, Joellen? Let me see if that works.
Let me see if I can. Where do I mute? Because
It's where your presentation is. Just
yeah, I got okay.
okay. And once I finish, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. So the first question we have: how do students know if they are eligible for loans this semester?
All aids programs that students are eligible for are put on their award package. When we award them through the system, this is a very systematic process, through our system that's actually called PeopleSoft, but students know it as MyEagle, MyEagle Online. Students will need to log in. They'll get an email, and all financial aid emails go to the email they listed on the FAFSA each year. Remember, the FAFSA, the federal application, has to be done every year. And the qualifications and the documentation and the eligibility requirements change every year. So once they do that and go through the process, then and we don't need anything else from the student, and we know that they've met all the eligibility requirements, we are going to award them with a package of financial aid. That award package, they will have to access that through the self-service, through MyEagle Online. So they go in and they click on the financial aid tab, financial aid block, because they're actually boxes now. And then when they click on that, they can see where it says financial aid award, and they can click on that. Work study and loans are offered, not accepted. We automatically accept grant and scholarship aid for the student, but students have to accept work study and loan offers before they can go to the next step. Loans require two primary steps. They have to do the master promissory note, but that's only once every 10 years. So if they've done it last year, for the loan this year. And the other one is the entrance counseling. They have to do that. Both of them are done online on the federal government's website, which if they click on accepting the loan award, it'll give them that information about how to go and complete the master promissory note and the entrance counseling. So everything that the student qualifies for will be out there on that award screen.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer. I'm going to put the two questions now, and it goes back to refunds and scholarships. The first one, does having different start dates could affect refund dates? The second question will be, are ESL students eligible for any scholarships?
ESL students are eligible for all financial aid as long as they meet the FAFSA eligibility requirements. And that's why I brought up eligibility requirements, because it's not, ESL is what we call prerequisite courses that help students be successful in college level courses. So all ESL courses, as long as the student's enrolled in an eligible program and meet eligible requirements, they will qualify for all types of aid.
Thank you so much, Joellen. Our next question is regarding bookstore. So where could students check to see if financial aid is ready to be used in the bookstore? And how do students use financial aid at the bookstore?
So again, we notify the student if they're eligible. If their financial aid exceeds their bill, they will get an email from us telling them that they're eligible to use their financial aid in the bookstore. The bookstore automatically gets their information. So with their student ID and their student HCC student ID number, they can get their books. They can order their books online right now. If they go into the bookstore, because some of our campuses bookstores are open right now, they are available for students to go in and get books and supplies. They have to have basically all they need is their student ID, their schedule, and a photo ID to get that.
so much. And I see some of the questions were already briefed, but we want to expand on some of those. So the next question, we have several questions about course validation. Why do students receive an email that their courses need to be validated when they register? And the course is applicable, and that's the keyword, applicable to their degree program. And course is in activity.
Can you repeat that last part?
Okay, I'm gonna, so why do students receive an email that their courses need to be validated when they register and the course is applicable to their degree program and the course isn't a retake?
I can't understand the last part of that question, Armando.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat that. So the course is not a retake, and they say that the class is applicable to their degree program.
Gotcha. It was the retake part I was having trouble hearing. Okay, thank you. There are a number of factors that could cause a student from getting the course alert. What happens is some students, when they change their program, if the prior program does not get inactivated, then the system might get confused as to which program the student is actually pursuing. So the first step is to make sure that the student only has one active program, okay? So having multiple active programs does cause a problem with the course validation process. The other problem that also exists is there are some courses that the professors may allow the student to take as a substitution that's not really set up in the setup tables. All of our programs are set up with setup tables. And some courses are falling outside of those setup tables, and so it requires a student to go in and talk with an advisor to find out if that course really applies. And then they have to manually validate the class if it's applicable to the degree program. So we have had some challenges with that piece of it, with substitutions and with some program setup in which the course really should be valid, but it's kicking out as invalid. So we actually have a meeting in about a week with our IT department, our advising department, and the financial aid department to see if we can improve on that process so it's not as frustrating for students and staff. So we're working on it, but because it's a federal requirement and a state requirement, we have to put all students through that course validation process. So there are some things that are happening on individual student records that are causing, and until the student comes in and says, please review my record, we don't know what the cause of that is. But we are working on it. We're working through some of those challenges. And we are working closely with IT and advising to make sure that there's minimal issues with the course validation process.
Thank you for that response, Joellen. So next one, it's still course validation, and that's going to be intertwined with the one you already respond. Will students be immediately notified if the class they're interested on is not eligible for the plan to use financial aid?
That is an awesome question, and I'm really glad somebody asked it because we've been asking for this, okay? Right now, the only way students find out is after the fact. After they register for the course, then it goes through a nightly process, and then we see if a course might be invalid, and we notify the student. After the fact is not a proactive way of helping students determine what classes they should take for their program. So one of the things we have asked for, because we just started this course validation process last spring. So one of the things we've asked for from IT, and we're going to continue to promote the need for this, is we want that process to run at the time the student puts the class in their what do you call it when they put the class in their basket? What is it, whatever that's called? Do you know what that's called, Armando?
When they put it on the shopping cart.
Thank you, thank you. I drew a blank there. When they put the course in their shopping cart, at that point we would like the validation process to run. to tell the student immediately before they actually register, click that button to register for the class. We want to be able to tell them that that class is falling outside of their program based on our records. We're working on that. It's priority. We want to get that piece done because we know that would help tremendously both the students and the staff get a better understanding of the courses that they need to take or should be taking for their program. So I'm really glad someone asked that question. And we are working with IT to try to get that, that programming piece done as soon as possible.
Thank you, Joellen. Our last question in regards to course validation, and it kind of dives in. When a student registers, how long does it take for a course to be automatically validated when the course is applicable to their degree program? How long is it?
Well, we don't start the course validation process at the same exact time we start students registering for classes. Okay, so there has been a couple weeks lag time. We want to fix that going forward in the future. So students start registering for the fall semester in May, for example. And so we don't start the course validation process till sometime in June. We want to make sure that at the time they start registering, we're ready to go with the course validation process, because that changes every semester. Course validation process, the setups, the program, and all that, that changes from semester to semester. So it starts a couple weeks after students start registering. Once we turn on the course validation process, which we did in June for the fall semester, then we run the process every evening, okay? And then we calculate students' eligibility for aid in the evening, so they usually find out the very next day.
Thank you, Susan, for that information. Our last question, for sake of time, we have a bunch of questions, but this one is in regards of technology assistance. Is there a special financial aid grant loan for students to get technology due to COVID-19, such as laptops or hotspots?
Again, I want to thank the student that asked that question because we're working on it, okay? Our Board of Trustees approved some additional funding for fall semester, and we're basically finishing up the details of that, finishing up the request process for students to be able to request funding for technology needs. So we're hoping to be able to go out with an announcement about that in a week or two. Once students have settled into their classes, the date of official record for the fall semester is September 8th for the full semester classes. And when that happens, we're hoping soon after that we're going to be able to tell students what's available in funding to help them cover the cost of internet and other technology for higher education. So we're working on it. We're almost there. We're excited because we also applied for another grant for emergency aid type grant for things like this, and we just got approved for that too. So that we'll be adding that into the pot of money. So we're always searching for resources to help students in this difficult time with technology and with additional resources to help during this COVID-19 pandemic. It's been tough on everybody. It's taken its toll on students, staff, faculty, just everybody. We're all tired, but we still care very much about the student's success. We care about the student's ability to go to school. And so we're working these long hours, and we're working as fast as we can to help students get what they need to go to school. We really thank you. For every student that's on this meeting right now, I want to personally thank you for sticking it out, to working through the frustrations, for being patient with us, to getting to this point that you're in your classes, or you're getting ready to go into classes maybe during the late start or the second start of the semester in the fall, so that you can continue with your education and not let this pandemic become a major disruption to your success in the future.
Thank you so much, Roland, for all that information. And hopefully we get those great news of technology grants soon for our students. I think your answers have provided students clarity in a bunch of topics that they have. We, again, appreciate, deeply thank you all for our students. And also, as you mentioned, I'd like to especially thank all our students that today. We hope you have a great semester, and we will be emailing you a presentation week after today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Armando.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Jolin.